Commander John Hayes sat in the dark Situation Room watching the screens light up with red dots. 3 massive enemy ships had entered Earth's solar system. They did not ask for permission. They did not send any message of peace. They simply came with weapons hot and shields ready for war. The warning came through every channel at the same time. A deep voice spoke in all human languages at once, translated instantly by the machines. Surrender Earth now, or face total destruction. The Galactic Empire did not negotiate. They did not bargain. They took what they wanted and killed anyone who said no. 12 hours. That was all the time humans had. John had spent 23 years protecting Earth's sky. He was a hard man, made of iron and will. His hands did not shake when he saw those red dots. His voice did not break when he turned to Captain Emma Rodriguez. She was his second in command, a woman just as tough as he was, with fire in her eyes that matched his own determination. "Get me every defense network on this planet," John said. His words were not loud, but they carried weight. "Get me the military leaders from every country. We have 1 hour to put together a response, or this world falls." Emma moved fast. Within minutes, video screens filled the room. Generals and commanders from Tokyo, London, New Delhi, Sao Paulo, Moscow, and 50 other military centers appeared on screen. The face of every powerful nation on Earth was there, and they all looked afraid. They had all seen the same message. They all knew what those 3 ships meant. General Lee Song from Korea spoke first. "We have no weapons that can hurt those ships. Our missiles are useless. Our aircraft are slow. We have no defense." "Then we use what we have," John said. His voice was hard as concrete. "We use speed. We use numbers. We use the fact that they do not know our planet like we do. They have conquered 1,000 worlds. They think all worlds are the same. They think we are weak. We show them they are wrong." Captain Marcus Webb from the United Kingdom leaned forward. "How do we fight something we cannot hurt?" John did not answer right away. He opened a secure folder on his computer. Inside were plans. Long, detailed plans that most of Earth's governments did not even know existed. A project that had taken 12 years to build in complete secret. Weapons that did not work like the weapons the Galactic Empire expected. Tools built specifically to fight an enemy like this. "We have tools," John said simply. "They are hidden. They are ready. And today we use them." The room went quiet. Then, slowly, the military leaders began to understand. Some had known about these weapons. Others were learning for the first time. But all of them felt the same thing, a small spark of hope, where before there had been only darkness. In New York City, 17-year-old Sophie Martinez sat in her small apartment with her parents. Her father, Dr. Nathan Park, worked at the Defense Research Institute. Her mother, Catherine Wells, was an advisor to the military. Sophie had grown up around secrets and important decisions. She understood that her parents held knowledge that could not be spoken aloud. Sophie watched the emergency broadcast on every screen. The message from the Empire was clear and simple. Surrender or die. No middle ground. No negotiation. Just those 2 choices. "What happens now?" Sophie asked her mother. Catherine Wells looked at her daughter with hard eyes. "We fight. Because the only other choice is to become slaves." Nathan Park put his hand on his daughter's shoulder. "The people on this planet are going to make a choice today. They are going to decide that Earth is worth fighting for. That home is worth fighting for. That their lives mean something worth defending." Sophie watched her parents' faces. They looked afraid, yes, but they also looked strong. They looked ready. She realized in that moment that adults who knew what was coming and still chose to fight were the bravest people of all around the globe. Millions of people received the same message. Flee to shelters. Prepare for war. This is not a drill. The message meant only one thing. Everything was about to change. In the mountains of Colorado, Colonel Lucas Bennett stood in an underground command center surrounded by scientists and military experts. His job was to protect the most important secret on Earth. This facility held the weapons that humanity had been building in secret for over a decade. Railguns that could shoot projectiles faster than any plane. Energy weapons that did not exist in any galactic database. Kinetic strike systems that worked on principles the Empire's engineers had never even considered. Lucas looked at the countdown on his screen. 11 hours and 40 minutes until the Empire ships would try to land their ground forces. Until they would attempt to take Earth by force. Are all the systems ready? He asked his team. All green, sir, his lead technician said. Her name was Rachel Kim, and she was the best weapons engineer on the planet. Every railgun is charged. Every kinetic array is aligned. Every defense network is online and ready to fire. Lucas nodded slowly. He had spent 10 years building these weapons, training these soldiers, preparing for this moment. He never thought the moment would actually come. But here it was. The moment was now. He opened a communication link to the military command centers across the world. Tokyo reported ready. London reported ready. Sao Paulo reported ready. Mumbai reported ready. Moscow reported ready. Every continent, every hidden facility, every weapon pointed at the sky. Back in the Situation Room, John Hayes received the final status report. Green light from every position on Earth. All weapons armed. All soldiers at their stations. All preparations complete. He made his decision. It was time to send a message of their own. John's voice went out on every channel that the Empire was monitoring. He spoke in English, and the translation systems broadcast his words across space. Through the Empire's communication networks. Straight to the bridge of the command ship where Sovereign Krell waited. Galactic Empire, John said. His voice was steady and calm. You have come to Earth thinking we are weak. You have come thinking we will surrender without a fight. You are wrong. This is our world. These are our people, our homes, our children. We will not surrender. We will not kneel. We will fight, and we will win. This is your one warning. Leave our world now or face consequences. The transmission ended. In the command ship. Sovereign Krell did not understand human words like determination or sacrifice. He did not understand why a species that was clearly inferior would choose to fight instead of surrender. His machines told him that humans could not win. His calculations showed certain victory. His experience showed that conquest was inevitable. Krell was wrong about all of it. The countdown continued. 11 hours and 15 minutes until invasion. The largest and most important battle in human history was about to begin. And no one on Earth really knew what the next days would bring. But they all knew one thing. They would stand together. They would fight as one, and they would show the universe what humans were truly made of. The Empire's computers had analyzed everything. They had scanned Earth's technology, measured human weapons, calculated military strength, and run every possible scenario. By their measurements, the Empire was stronger than Earth by a factor of 400 to 1. This number meant only one thing. Humans could not win. The outcome was already decided. The battle was already over. The Empire did not know about humanity's hidden arsenal. Colonel Lucas Bennett walked through the underground facility in Colorado where humanity's secret weapons lay hidden. This bunker was invisible to every scanning method the galactic powers used. It did not exist in any Empire database. No spy had ever found it. No satellite could detect it. This was Earth's true strength, built in darkness, prepared for this exact moment. The railguns were first. These weapons use metal and electricity instead of explosives. A projectile traveling at 7 kilometers per second could punch through any shield. It was simple physics. No energy beam could do what pure speed could do. The Empire's ships were designed to defend against heat and radiation. Railguns fired solid metal. The Empire's shields could not adapt to something so different. Rachel Kim showed Lucas the calculations one more time. Each railgun could fire 10 rounds per minute. There were 43 railguns positioned across the planet. That meant 430 projectiles per minute, all traveling faster than any aircraft. No defensive system in the galaxy had ever faced this kind of bombardment because no species had ever thought to build weapons this way. The kinetic arrays are ready too, Rachel said. She pointed to another section of the underground facility. 12,000 impact drones, each carrying concentrated mass. When they hit a target, the kinetic energy alone will cause massive damage. We do not need explosives. We just need speed and weight. Lucas nodded. This was the advantage of being primitive. The advanced civilizations had advanced weapons that used advanced physics. They had shields designed for those weapons. But humans, being backward by galactic standards, had built something completely different. The Empire had no defense for what they did not expect. Throughout the world, similar facilities held similar weapons. In the depths of the Atlantic Ocean, underwater platforms held kinetic strike systems. Deep in the Sahara, buried beneath sand, were electromagnetic pulse generators that could disable electronics across an entire city. These generators had been hardened against their own effects, meaning they could fire without destroying Earth's own systems. Japan had a special project. Deep underground near Mount Fuji, scientists had created what they called a frequency weapon. It did not damage matter directly. Instead, it disrupted the molecular bonds in metals at extreme range. An Empire ship hit by this weapon would not explode. It would simply fall apart piece by piece. Korea had another secret: a kinetic rail network that could launch objects into space at tremendous speed. Thousands of objects per hour. Each one traveling fast enough to destroy a starship. Brazil had developed eye-targeting systems that operated completely without internet. This meant the Empire could not hack them. The Empire could not disable them remotely. Each system made its own decisions about when to fire. Russia had built underground cities, where missiles could be launched from impossible places. The Empire's intelligence could not find them. The Empire could not bomb. What they could not see. All of these weapons were connected through a network that the Empire did not know existed. When the assault began, they would all fire at once. A coordinated global attack that no species had ever faced before. The Empire expected to land their ground forces and take the planet piece by piece. They did not expect the planet itself to fight back with everything it had. Captain Emma Rodriguez sat in the command center and reviewed the weapon status for the 100th time. Green light. All weapons ready. All systems armed. All soldiers standing at their posts. She thought about the soldiers who would operate these weapons. Most of them were ordinary people. They were farmers who had learned to operate railguns. They were teachers who had studied weapon systems. They were students who had volunteered to defend their home. They were not professional soldiers in most cases. They were just humans who refused to let their world be conquered. The final message came through from every command center on Earth: ready to fight. Ready to defend. Ready to die if necessary. Emma sent that message directly to John Hayes. When he saw it, he finally allowed himself a small moment of emotion. Humanity was not going to surrender. Earth was going to fight. In the Situation Room, John made his final preparations. He had studied every piece of information about the Empire's tactics. The Empire always landed assault forces in the first wave. They believed in overwhelming numbers. They believed ground forces could crush any resistance, but humans had prepared for this. Every military base on Earth had been fortified. Every city had defensive positions. Every soldier had training. The Empire would not find easy victory. They would find a planet of humans who refused to give in. The timeline was clear. The 3 Empire ships would reach optimal landing position in 9 hours. That was when the assault drones would begin descending. That was when humans would need to be ready. John opened a channel to all of Earth's military forces. Millions of soldiers in hundreds of countries listened to his voice. "In 9 hours, the enemy will attempt to land on our world," he said. "We will show them what happens when they come to Earth with weapons drawn. We will defend our homes. We will protect our families. We will make them pay for every kilometer of ground they take. They think we are weak because we are young. They think we are helpless because our technology is simple. They are wrong. We are strong. We are united. We are ready to fight." The soldiers heard his words and felt the weight of history. Every human on Earth was about to become part of the greatest battle ever fought. The outcome was not certain, but the commitment was absolute. In the Empire's command ship, Sovereign Krell continued to monitor Earth's response. The humans were arming themselves. The humans were coordinating a defense. Krell found this amusing. The humans would die anyway. They would simply die while fighting instead of surrendering. Krell did not understand that he had just made the biggest mistake in Empire history. He did not know about the hidden weapons. He did not know about the years of preparation. He did not know that Earth had prepared specifically for a moment like this. The Empire had conquered 1,000 worlds by being stronger and more advanced. But they had never faced an enemy that used completely different tactics. They had never faced an enemy that did not think like they thought. They had never faced humans. The countdown continued. 9 hours until the assault began. 9 hours until the Galactic Empire learned what it meant to attack a planet that was ready to fight back. Colonel Lucas Bennett stood in the Colorado facility and looked at his weapons one final time. Every railgun was perfect. Every kinetic array was loaded. Every soldier was in position. The arsenal was ready. He made his final check of the system. Everything green. Everything ready. Everything prepared to unleash devastation on the invaders. In 9 hours, the Empire would discover what they had unleashed. In 9 hours, human weapons would begin to sing. In 9 hours, the Galactic Empire would learn that they had made a terrible, terrible mistake. The assault began at dawn over the Pacific Ocean. The Empire's dropships descended through Earth's atmosphere in perfect formation. There were 93 dropships in the first wave, each carrying 300 soldiers. This was a standard invasion force by Empire standards. It had worked on every world they had conquered before. Sovereign Krell watched from the command ship as his forces began their descent. The humans had nothing that could hurt them. The Empire's shields could withstand anything Earth had to offer. The soldiers were equipped with weapons that had conquered civilizations. This would be quick. At that exact moment, the railguns fired. Rachel Kim did not hesitate. The moment the first dropship entered firing range, she pressed the button. Below the mountains, the underground facility shook with the force of the first shot. A metal projectile, 2 meters long and as thick as a human arm, launched into space at 7 kilometers per second. It took the projectile 8 seconds to reach the first dropship. 8 seconds that the dropship shield did not have time to adapt to something so different. The projectile hit like the hand of an angry god. The dropship did not explode in a dramatic way. Instead, the impact tore through the metal. The shield, designed for energy weapons, did not stop kinetic force. The dropship's front section was destroyed completely. It fell from the sky like a stone, trailing fire and metal and dead soldiers. Sovereign Krell watched this on his screens and finally felt something he had never felt before. Uncertainty. 42 more railguns fired in coordinated succession. Across the Pacific, across North America, across Europe, across Asia, the railguns spoke. The sky above Earth became filled with death. Dropship after dropship was hit. Some were destroyed completely. Some were damaged so badly they could not land. Some managed to continue descending despite the impact. But the railguns were just the beginning. Captain Emma Rodriguez coordinated the assault from the Situation Room. She had studied the Empire's tactics for years. She knew they would try to spread their landing forces across multiple locations to overwhelm human defenses. She had prepared for this. The kinetic arrays activated next. In the deep ocean, from hidden platforms, thousands of objects launched upward toward the descending dropships. These were not drones with engines. These were simple chunks of metal, each as heavy as a car, launched by electromagnetic accelerators. They climbed toward space with incredible speed. The dropships that survived the railgun fire now faced this secondary wave. The Empire's shields had no way to defend against such a basic attack. A falling object from below was something that made no sense to them. Their defensive systems were designed for conventional attacks from other ships. They were designed for battles in space where both sides had equal technology. They were not designed for this. Another 14 dropships were destroyed. 16 more were damaged so severely they could not deploy troops. The Empire had started with 93. 43 were now gone. The remaining 50 were heavily damaged and still descending. In the command ship, Sovereign Crow made a decision. He ordered his remaining orbital strike assets into position. If humans wanted to play with primitive weapons, he would show them true power. He would rain destruction on every military base on the planet. He would level their cities. He would kill millions if necessary. That was when the electromagnetic pulse weapons activated. Deep in the Sahara and in 3 other hidden locations around the world, massive generators fired. The electromagnetic pulses they created were not designed to destroy the Empire's ships directly. Instead, they were designed to disable the sophisticated electronics that made the ships work. The pulses moved at the speed of light. The 3 Empire ships in orbit suddenly lost all their sensor systems simultaneously. The targeting computers went dark. The navigation systems failed. The communications equipment shut down. For a moment, the most advanced military force in the galaxy was completely blind. That moment was all humans needed. The Japanese frequency weapons began their attack. At extreme range, they disrupted the molecular bonds in the Empire's ship's hull plates. The metal began to weaken and crack. It was a slow attack, but it was effective. The ships would not sink quickly, but they would sink. The Brazilian AI targeting systems made their calculations and fired. They targeted the damaged dropships still descending. They targeted the Empire's shuttle base. They targeted the weapon systems that were trying to recover from the electromagnetic pulse. Humans had one advantage that the Empire had never faced before. They were willing to be unconventional. The assault force continued for 2 hours. The railguns fired until their ammunition ran low. The kinetic arrays launched tons of metal into the sky. The frequency weapons disrupted shield generators and power cores. The Empire's fleet, which had seemed invincible, became a wounded thing. Sovereign Krell's fleet was not destroyed completely. The Empire had superior numbers and eventually began to adapt. But they were no longer advancing. They were no longer conquering. They were fighting for survival. The remaining dropships that made it to the ground faced soldiers who were ready and waiting. Human soldiers operated weapons that could actually hurt the Empire's finest troops. For the first time, Empire soldiers found themselves unable to simply overwhelm resistance with superior firepower. In Africa, Korean soldiers with railguns stood in underground fortifications and fired on Empire troops. In Europe, American soldiers operated kinetic strike systems against Empire landing sites. In Asia, Japanese soldiers coordinated massive defensive operations. Humans everywhere did what humans did best. They adapted, they improvised, they refused to give up. The battle raged for 6 hours. The Empire ships above continued to take damage. The dropships that had landed were either destroyed or contained by human forces. The invasion force that Sovereign Krell had considered invincible was being defeated by a species he had thought primitive. As the sun moved across Earth's sky, the truth became clear. The Empire was losing. Krell made his final calculation. He had lost more ships and troops in 6 hours than he had lost in the previous 5 years of conquest. Earth was not surrendering. Earth was not breaking. Earth was fighting with a ferocity that made no tactical sense and all moral sense. The Sovereign made his decision. He would retreat. He would save his remaining fleet. He would report to the Emperor that Earth could not be conquered quickly. That Earth would cost more resources than Earth was worth. That Earth was a loss in this campaign. He gave the order to all remaining ships: disengage and prepare for full retreat. Aboard the Situation Room, John Hayes watched the data feeds. The Empire ships were pulling away. The remaining dropships were attempting to escape. The assault was ending. For the first time in human history, Earth had defeated an invading force in open combat. Humans had fought against superior numbers and superior technology. Humans had won. Emma Rodriguez looked at John and allowed herself a small smile. They had done it. Imperfect humans with improvised weapons had defeated the mighty Galactic Empire. The war was ending, and humanity had proven something that would change the entire galaxy. Humans would fight. Humans would resist. And humans would win when it mattered most. The news spread through the galaxy like electricity through a wire. The Galactic Empire, the force that had ruled thousands of star systems for 3 centuries, had been defeated by a primitive species on a backwater world called Earth. The story made no sense. It was impossible. It was true. Within 3 days, every government in the galaxy knew what had happened. The message was clear and simple. Humans had fought the Empire, and the Empire had lost. This message changed everything. In the underground research centers across Earth, teams of scientists began analyzing the Empire equipment that had been captured during the battle. The disabled starship weapons, the abandoned suit systems, the technology that humans had only dreamed of studying. Dr. Nathan Park led one team in the analysis. He worked with engineers from 10 different countries to understand how Empire systems functioned. What he discovered was shocking. The Empire's technology was not as advanced as it had seemed. It was simply different. The Empire had built weapons using different principles. But those principles were not superior. They were just different. Humans had defeated the Empire, not because humans were suddenly smarter. Humans had defeated the Empire because humans were willing to think in new ways. Because humans had prepared for something the Empire never expected. Because humans refused to surrender. The political implications were enormous. The Galactic Council, which had existed for over 500 years, called an emergency session. The representatives gathered in their chambers to discuss a single question. What did Earth's victory mean for the future of galactic order? Some species were terrified. If the Empire could be defeated, what did that say about their own security? Others were hopeful. Some species had chafed under Empire rule for generations. If humans could defeat the Empire, perhaps others could too. The Verith, a warrior culture that had been forced to accept Empire dominion centuries ago, approached Earth through a neutral intermediary. They wanted to talk to the humans who had defeated the Empire. They wanted to understand how humans had done the impossible. They wanted to form an alliance. The Merchant Collective, which controlled most of the trade routes through the galaxy, also made contact. They proposed bringing Earth into their network. They would provide technology and resources. In exchange, they wanted access to Earth's market and Earth's unique way of thinking about weapons and strategy. Even species that had been loyal to the Empire began to question that loyalty. The synth consciousness, which had previously maintained strict neutrality, indicated that they were willing to reconsider their position. Several former Empire tributaries sent ambassadors to Earth to establish diplomatic relations. Catherine Wells, who had been promoted to ambassador for Earth's diplomatic corps, began receiving communication from governments across the galaxy. Every day brought new proposals, new offers, new attempts to form alliances with the species that had done the impossible. The Empire did not take this well. The Emperor himself, a being of pure energy and consciousness contained in a mechanical shell, made a statement to the Galactic Council. He declared that Earth was a rogue world and that any species trading with Earth would face consequences. He declared that the Empire would eventually return to Earth with a larger fleet and would erase the planet from the map, but his declaration rang hollow now. Everyone in the galaxy understood the truth. The Empire had promised certainty and guaranteed victory. The Empire had failed. The Empire had lost. The Empire could be beaten. Sovereign Krell, who had led the failed invasion, found himself exiled from the Emperor's favor. He was reassigned to a border post in the Outer Rim. But before he went, he made a secret contact. He reached out to the humans through a neutral trader species. Krell's message was simple. Some in the Empire wanted peace with Earth. Some in the Empire understood that the old order was changing. Some in the Empire were willing to recognize Earth as a sovereign power. Catherine Wells received this message and brought it to John Hayes. Together, they made a decision. Earth would accept peaceful relations with any species willing to recognize their independence. Earth would trade freely with those who respected their borders. Earth would be strong but not aggressive. Earth would be independent but not isolationist. Within 1 month, Earth had established formal trade agreements with 12 different species. Within 2 months, Earth had signed military cooperation agreements with the Verith. Within 3 months, Earth had become a member of the Merchant Collective. The Galactic Empire watched this expansion of Earth's influence and could do nothing to stop it. The Emperor tried to impose sanctions, but no one listened. The Empire had lost its power to frighten. The Empire had lost the illusion of invincibility. More importantly, Earth was not the only species that noticed. Throughout the galaxy, the smaller nations and cultures that had been forced to accept Empire rule began to realize something fundamental. The Empire could be resisted. The Empire could be defeated. The Empire was not inevitable. Discussions began in private about what would happen next. Some species were already considering how they might resist Empire control. Others were forming alliances to protect themselves. The Galactic Order, which had been stable for 300 years, was beginning to crack. Back on Earth, celebrations had given way to work. There was much to do. Earth needed to build up its military capabilities further. Earth needed to establish trade networks. Earth needed to learn from the technology of other species. Earth needed to prepare for whatever came next. John Hayes stood in a new command center, watching reports come in from across the solar system. Earth's defense network was being upgraded. New weapon systems were being built. Earth was becoming stronger every day. He thought about what had happened. A primitive species had faced the most advanced military force in the known galaxy. That primitive species had refused to surrender. That primitive species had fought with everything it had. And somehow, improbably, that primitive species had won. Emma Rodriguez entered the command center with the latest reports. The Varith ambassador wants to schedule another meeting, she said. They want to discuss military strategy for possible future conflicts. John nodded. Tell them yes. and tell them we have some things they should know about unconventional warfare." Emma smiled slightly. Humans had always been good at unconventional solutions. Humans had always been willing to try new approaches when traditional methods did not work. That had been humanity's greatest advantage in the fight against the Empire. That would be humanity's advantage in whatever came next. The galaxy was changing. The balance of power was shifting. And at the center of it all was Earth, a species that had dared to fight back when facing the impossible. One primitive species had given the Galactic Empire one warning, and had forced the Empire to finally listen. 6 months after the invasion, Catherine Wells stood in the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council. The room was filled with representatives from every major civilization in known space. This was the first time in history that a human had been invited to speak before this council. This was the moment that would determine whether humans would be accepted as equals in the galactic community or treated as an oddity. That had gotten lucky. Catherine wore the formal robes of Earth's diplomatic service. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who had proven her people could not be broken. The room fell silent as she approached the speaking platform. "Members of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice clear and steady. "I come before you to speak not as a representative of a conquered world seeking mercy. I come before you as a representative of a sovereign nation that has earned its place among the great powers of the galaxy. 6 months ago, the Galactic Empire came to our world believing we would surrender without resistance. They learned that humans do not give up. They learned that we will fight for our home. They learned that superior numbers do not guarantee victory." The council listened in total silence. This was important. Everyone knew this was important. "Earth seeks no conquest," Catherine continued. "We seek no territory beyond our own. We seek no dominion over other peoples. What we seek is respect. We seek the right to exist as a free people. We seek the right to choose our own destiny. And we will defend those rights with every weapon at our disposal, every person willing to stand, and every ounce of will that our species possesses." She paused and looked directly at the representatives. The Galactic Empire believed they were inevitable. They believed their rule was permanent. They were wrong. What happened on Earth can happen anywhere. Any species willing to fight, willing to think in new ways, willing to refuse surrender, can achieve the impossible. The age of the Empire is ending. The age of a free galaxy is beginning. When Catherine finished speaking, the chamber erupted. Some representatives applauded. Some looked afraid. Some were calculating what this meant for their own positions and their own worlds. Verith ambassadors stood and made a formal statement. The Verith would ally with Earth. Together they would form a defensive coalition that would protect smaller species from Empire aggression. It was a declaration that changed everything. The Merchant Collective made an announcement next. They would recognize Earth as a full member nation. Earth would have access to all trade routes. Earth would be granted observer status in trade negotiations. Earth would be treated as an equal. One by one, other species made similar announcements: recognition, alliance, trade agreements. The galactic community was accepting Earth not out of pity, but out of respect. The Galactic Empire's representative sat in silence throughout all of this. The Emperor's voice came through the communication link, ordering the representative to speak. But there was nothing to say. The Empire had been defeated in battle. The Empire was now being defeated diplomatically. The old order was crumbling. Back on Earth, the celebrations began again. News broadcasts showed Catherine's speech being replayed on every screen. Humans worldwide understood what had just happened. Earth had not just survived. Earth had taken its place at the galactic table as an equal-powered dot in New York. Sophie Martinez watched her mother's speech on multiple screens. Her mother had been right. Humans were capable of extraordinary things when they were fighting for their home. Sophie realized she wanted to be part of what came next. She wanted to study diplomacy. She wanted to continue what her mother had started. Her father, Nathan Park, put his hand on her shoulder, just as he had months before. But this time, his expression was different. This time, he was looking at the future with hope instead of fear. "What do you think we will do next?" Sophie asked. Nathan smiled slightly. "We will build. We will learn. We will grow. We will show the galaxy that humans are not just good at fighting. We are good at creating. We are good at building bridges between people. We are good at making the future better than the past." The transformation of Earth happened remarkably fast over the following months. New trade routes brought wealth to the planet. Technology from other species helped Earth build even better cities and better lives for its people. Young humans traveled to other worlds to study with alien scientists. Young aliens came to Earth to learn about human ways of thinking, but the weapons stayed in place. The railguns were not dismantled. The kinetic arrays were not destroyed. The frequency weapons remained in their hidden locations. Because humans understood something important. You had to be strong to be safe. You had to be ready to fight to maintain your freedom. Humans had learned this lesson in the hardest way possible. Colonel Lucas Bennett stood in the Colorado facility one more time. The weapons that had saved Earth were now being modernized with new technology. They were being improved. Other species wanted to learn how to build them. The humans had created something revolutionary, weapons that did not require advanced technology, that could be maintained by young societies, that could give a small species the ability to defend itself against a large one. John Hayes received a new assignment. He was to be the commander of Earth's Space Defense Force, the organization that would protect humanity from future threats. It was a responsibility he took seriously. He had seen what happened when a society was unprepared. He had also seen what happened when a society was ready. The Galactic Empire attempted one more thing. They tried to encourage internal conflict on Earth. They tried to turn nations against each other. They tried to disrupt Earth's unity. But it did not work. Humans had been tested in the fire of invasion. Humans had learned that division was suicide when facing an external threat. The Empire's efforts to weaken humanity from within failed completely. Then, quietly, Emperor Krell made a surprising move. He contacted Catherine Wells through secure channels. The Emperor wanted to discuss a permanent peace treaty with Earth. The Empire would recognize Earth's independence. The Empire would cease all hostile actions toward Earth. The Empire would even offer technology. Exchanges. Catherine brought this proposal to John Hayes and to the other leaders of Earth. The discussion was intense. Some wanted to accept immediately. Some wanted to demand more. Some wanted to refuse on principle. John Hayes made the final recommendation. "We accept," he said, "but we do not disarm. We do not reduce our defenses. We accept peace, but we remain ready for war. Because the Empire has learned one lesson. Humans do not threaten idly. When humans say never again, we mean it." The peace treaty was signed 1 year after the invasion. Earth and the Galactic Empire would no longer be enemies. But they would never be friends. The Empire had come to Earth thinking to conquer. Instead, they had been conquered by a species willing to sacrifice everything for their home. Humanity took its place among the great powers of the galaxy. Not because humans had the most advanced technology. Not because humans ruled the most planets or controlled the most resources. But because humans had proven something fundamental, that freedom was worth fighting for. That home was worth defending. That no force in the galaxy, no matter how powerful, could break a species determined to be free. The age of empire was ending. The age of human greatness was beginning. And it had started because one species, one young species that was supposedly primitive and weak, had dared to say no. Had dared to fight. had dared to win. The Galactic Empire had issued many warnings to other species across the centuries. But now there was a new warning in the galaxy, whispered in 1,000 languages, understood by species across 10,000 worlds. Never touch Earth again. Humans will fight. Humans will win. And the cost will be higher than you can imagine.